Before we begin, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep sharing more true crime stories from around the world. Viewer discretion is advised. This story is based on real events. On March 20th, 2000, 28-year-old musician Grange Taylor packed his guitar, a duffel bag, and a few CDs into his aging blue Honda Civic. He told his roommates in San Francisco he was driving south to Los Angeles for a meeting about a possible recording project, his first real break. He never arrived. Grange was easy to like. Calm voice, quiet smile. The kind of man who remembered every name at an open mic night. He played folk and blues in tiny Bay Area bars, often earning more applause than money, but he loved every second of it. That spring, he'd been talking non-stop about new material and plans to move to Los Angeles full-time. To his friends, life finally seemed to be turning a corner. He left San Francisco just after sunrise. It was a clear day, no storms, no road closures, just endless California highway unfolding ahead. Before he left, he phoned his parents in Oregon, promising to call again once he reached LA. That was the last time anyone heard his voice. 2 days later, a patrol officer spotted an abandoned blue Honda parked on a turnout near San Luis Obispo, 200 miles south of the city. The car was neat and undamaged. Inside sat his guitar case, clothes, and wallet. The keys were gone. The driver's seat pulled back as if he'd stopped for a quick rest. There were no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away, and no reason for him to have stopped there at all. When police traced the plates and contacted his family, confusion turned quickly to fear. Grange wasn't the kind of man to disappear. He had rent due, gigs booked, and a dozen messages waiting on his answering machine. Search teams swept the surrounding hills, while helicopters circled the canyon roads. Nothing. The car became the only trace of him, a still life left behind on the highway. Investigators considered everything: robbery, carjacking, even voluntary disappearance. But his money, identification, and prized guitar were untouched. Friends insisted he wasn't depressed or running from anything. He'd been excited, talking about how this trip might change his life. As days stretched into weeks, theories filled the silence. Some believed he picked up a hitchhiker. Others thought he wandered off the road looking for help, struck by heat or exhaustion. But every lead faded in the same sun-bleached emptiness that had swallowed him. By summer, the case was cold. All that remained was his car on the shoulder of Highway 101, and a family waiting for answers that never came. Somewhere between San Francisco and Los Angeles, a young musician's road simply ended. No witnesses, no clues. Just the hum of passing traffic and the echo of a song unfinished. When authorities began piecing together the timeline of Grange Taylor's final hours, the facts were frustratingly few. He left San Francisco early that Monday morning, alone, heading south along Highway 1. He never checked into a hotel, never called anyone, and never used his bank card again. His phone records stopped abruptly just outside of Salinas, around 10:42 a.m. After that, nothing. Detectives spoke to everyone who knew him. Friends described Grange as reliable, organized, and quietly ambitious. He wasn't impulsive, didn't drink heavily, and had no criminal record. He'd told multiple people about his meeting in Los Angeles, yet police could find no record of who he was supposed to meet. No phone numbers, no emails, no address written down. It was as if the appointment had existed only in his mind, or had been arranged by someone who didn't want to be found. His car was towed from the turnout near San Luis Obispo for examination. The fuel tank was half full, the tires still firm. Inside, investigators found his wallet with a few bills, his driver's license, his favorite denim jacket, and the guitar he never went anywhere without. There were no fingerprints other than his own. No blood, no signs of a struggle. The car had simply stopped, and he had walked away. Local rangers searched the rugged terrain surrounding the highway. The land was uneven, dry brush, sharp rock, and steep drop-offs that made searching dangerous. Helicopters scanned from above, but heat waves distorted visibility. Dogs brought to the scene tracked his scent only a few hundred meters before losing it completely. The trail ended as suddenly as it began. Detectives began to wonder if Grange had staged his disappearance. He'd recently split from a longtime girlfriend, and though it was amicable, some suggested he might have needed space. But that theory didn't hold. He'd just signed a new lease, booked shows through April, and left everything behind: his car, his ID, even his guitar. Nothing about it fit a man planning to start over. As the weeks passed, sightings trickled in. A gas station attendant claimed he saw someone who looked like Grange asking for water a few days after the disappearance. A truck driver thought he'd picked him up near the coast. Neither story could be verified, and both came too late to follow up properly. The more the police searched, the less sense it made. Theories began to form: heat stroke, an accidental fall, or foul play. Some even speculated he may have been robbed or picked up by someone who later harmed him. But with no body, no weapon, and no witness, the investigation drifted toward silence. By the end of the year, Grange Taylor's file joined hundreds of others marked unsolved. To his family, it wasn't just a mystery. It was a life that had vanished between two exits on a highway. And to investigators, it became one of those rare cases where every possible answer felt incomplete. Somewhere between San Francisco and Los Angeles, the road still carries his memory, a route lined with sun, dust, and the unanswered question of what really happened that day. As the weeks turned into months, the investigation into Grange Taylor's disappearance slowed to a crawl. The posters faded on telephone poles, and the calls to police grew less frequent. But for his family, the search never stopped. Every weekend, his parents drove Highway 101, the same road their son had taken, leaving fresh flyers at every rest stop. They spoke to truckers, motel clerks, and gas station attendants, clinging to the hope that someone, somewhere, had seen him. The story briefly caught local media attention. Headlines read "Missing Musician from Bay Area," accompanied by a smiling photo of Grange holding his guitar. Tips poured in from across California, each one promising, each one ending in disappointment. A man who looked like him busking in Santa Barbara. Another sighting near a beach town south of LA. None of them were him. Detectives re-examined the evidence again and again. They considered whether he could have been the victim of a random crime, but there were no missing person reports matching any body found, no abandoned belongings, no link to any other case. It was as if he had stepped off the road and out of time. For his friends, grief came in waves. Musicians he played with began dedicating songs to him at local bars. They said when they performed, they could almost feel him in the back of the room, quietly nodding along to the rhythm. His last recorded demo, a rough acoustic track, simply titled Highway Sky*, was uploaded online years later, where it found a small but loyal following. The lyrics were haunting. Keep the lights on. I'll be home before the dawn. His family eventually moved north, but they never changed their phone number. Each year, on the anniversary of his disappearance, his mother still receives calls from journalists and the occasional stranger convinced they've uncovered a new lead. Every conversation ends the same way: gratitude, silence, and a quiet ache that time has never erased. 2 decades later, the official case remains open but dormant. Investigators admit privately there is little left to pursue. The terrain around San Luis Obispo is vast, dotted with gullies and canyons that could hide anything, even a life story that ended too soon. Yet, every so often, hikers report finding old scraps of fabric, rusted cans, or weather-worn guitar picks, and for a moment, hope flickers again. The legend of Grange Taylor lives on in fragments, a name whispered among travelers, a face printed on fading posters, a song that still drifts through California bars. He became a symbol of the countless who vanished quietly, without violence or reason, leaving behind only the weight of questions. Somewhere along that long stretch of highway, between the ocean and the hills, the mystery of Grange Taylor still rides the wind, a melody unfinished, echoing into the distance. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow and keeps these true stories alive. All cases are real, told with respect for the victims and their families.